Hey everybody, welcome back to Movies with Mia. If you're new to the channel, hi! I'm Mia Tiffany, and here we are watching the greatest classic films throughout history. Today we are off on another adventure with Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes. Before we get into today's video, I would like to shout out my Golden Oscar patrons. Thank you all so much for your continued support of the channel. And if you're interested in becoming an exclusive VIP Tiffany Club member, then I highly encourage you to check out that Patreon link, which is in the description box below. And finally, I've really been feeling a lot of gratitude lately. All of you who watch the videos, who subscribe, to those of you who have recently supported on Patreon. Thank you all so much. It really means a lot to me to know that you support me, that you watch the videos, that you comment, and that you're enjoying the content. So thank you guys so much for being with me on this journey. Today, we are watching the 5th episode in the Granada television series, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, titled The Crooked Man, which sounds really scary, I'm not gonna lie. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk a little bit more about Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's early life. Growing up in Edinburgh, Conan Doyle was by no means wealthy. As a child, he was raised by his father and mother, along with his 8 siblings. Charles Doyle, Arthur's father, was an artist with moderate success and a propensity for alcohol. Conan Doyle was close to his mother, Mary, who had a passion for books and was, according to him, a master of storytelling. At age 9, Conan Doyle's wealthier relatives offered to pay for his schooling. He would spend the next 7 years at a religious boarding school, which he found to be most dreadful. He would later say that the only moments of joy that he experienced were the times when he was allowed to write to his mother. But one of the lighter times of Conan Doyle's experience at boarding school happened when he found out that he had a talent for storytelling himself. So I guess it kind of runs in the family. And of course, the rest is, as they say, history. With that being said, this is my first time watching The Crooked Man, and I am so excited to get into it. But before we do, y'all know the deal. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification to stay in the loop. Alright everyone, it is time to grab your snacks, grab your drinks, prep those smoking pipes, and let's get into The Crooked Man. I am so excited to get into this. Oh shoot, someone's having some disagreements in the other room, I hear.
Your tea, madam!
Oh man, they're not even like listening to their maid. Fighting like cats and dogs.
I can't open the door! Mrs. Barkley, open the door! Mrs. Barkley, open the door!
I kind of liked the rise in intensity in this scene. It kind of started mild and then it ended very intensely. It's interesting.
The door's locked on the inside. I'm going out for a doctor and the police.
She's breathing. Ew. Ew, why was he smiling? Oh no, that would have freaked me out. I would have ran out of that room so quick. Oh my gosh, that was scary.
Dr. John Watson, formerly medical officer attached to the Royal Berkshires.
Murphy, second in command. And this will be Mr. Holmes.
Oh, this isn't. Oh, we're starting with an on-call this time versus in Sherlock's parlor.
How concerned you must be about the possibility of a scandal.
The honor of the regiment is in my care. The reporters were kept as far away as possible.
They scent a mystery.
Jeremy Brett. He like uses different words and puts certain inflections on them to make them more pop more, I guess. I love it.
Tell me the facts.
Colonel James Barkley was found dead. There was a ragged cut in the back of his head.
Goodness
And
grief.
upon the floor by the body was a wooden club.
I love when he closes his eyes and smiles. He's working in his mind temple, seeing all the clues.
Mrs. Barkley was stretched out on the sofa, lying in a dead faint. She is quite incapable of such a dreadful act. I've come to know Nancy Barkley well.
I love when Sherlock acts like this. I don't know why. Like inquisitive and like he kind of knows more than he's letting on.
Tell me about Colonel Barkley. Was he highly regarded?
Remarkably so. Jim Barkley began his career as a private soldier.
From private soldier to commanding officer in the same regiment.
Sounds like there was some sneaky business under the rug happening.
Rapid promotion over the years.
Impressive. And I suppose the unfortunate Mrs. Barkley's in custody.
She's in hospital being looked after with a police constable standing by.
Oh, so she's yet to wake up, so we don't know her story yet. Ooh.
Nancy Barkley is a handsome woman now. You should have seen her as a young girl in India. Her father was the regimental son major. All the men in my company thought her the prettiest girl.
So she was maybe heavily sought after by the soldiers, but she had her heart set on one.
Barkley was not the only man who sought her hand. He was the one she chose. After the marriage, Sergeant Barclay got his commission.
So it went from like nothing to like high-ranking official. It was an interesting camera like pan out that they used.
And the marriage continued to be a happy one.
A uniformly happy one.
And what do you believe?
I saw a different side to the marriage.
Oh, so different behind closed doors. Maybe they fell out of love with each other or something.
I'd been dining at the Barclays. I'd left my cigar case in the dining room.
Oh, for goodness sake, James!
Who is it?
You are hurting me!
Tell me you love me then.
Barclay is probably insecure, like, you probably didn't want me, you just chose me because of XYZ, so that's probably where that stems from.
Was he a violent man?
No, I don't think so. But he was subject to a form of depression. When we were discussing old campaigns, the smile would often be struck from his mouth.
Things like mental health and domestic violence and issues of that nature weren't really spoken about during that time. I feel like the fact that that this is kind of being spoken about in the short story must have been very interesting for audiences at that time.
You mentioned a carved wooden club.
The servants deny ever having seen this before.
And the police.
They believe it to be the murder weapon.
We should begin by visiting the Barclays' house.
I like the framing of this particular scene with Sherlock and Watson.
Suppose Mrs. Barclay had a lover. Mild adultery has always been commonplace among officers and their wives. Major Murphy seems to have been rather close to her.
Okay, so we're hitting domestic violence, we're hitting PTSD, possible adultery. Like, these are some pretty deep topics for the Victorian era.
It was about 7:30, sir. Mrs. Barclay spent the evening doing charity work.
Where are you off to in such a hurry?
I promised Anne Morrison I'd be at the Mission Hall on time.
There's definitely some tension between husband and wife. Like, maybe we're falling out of love.
Well, if you want to catch some filthy disease, I suppose that's your affair.
We've been fortunate with our lot. Others haven't been so lucky.
Don't be late back.
Here's what this kind of feels like. Barclay was in love with this woman. I already forgot her name. She probably was in love with someone else. Something must have happened, maybe not egregiously, but they ended up together, but she never really had that great love for him. I think that's kind of the situation that's going on.
Mrs. Barclay must have returned about 9:15, sir. She was walking up and down this room, upset. You rang, madam?
Bring me some tea, will you?
What happened? What is it?
Jane!
Shaughnessy, the director, him and his cinematographer, is really using a lot of the panning to tell this story. And I really like it. It adds an element of mystery, I guess.
Did I hear Mrs. Barclay?
Yes, sir. I'm just about to take a report of tea.
What does she want tea for at this hour?
I feel like they're both suffering greatly in their own ways, and they can't really communicate that to each other.
When you returned from the kitchen, you heard voices. What exactly did you hear?
She shouted the name David. She said it twice.
David.
David! So who's David?
Any visitors by the name of David?
I don't think so, sir.
But the Colonel's name was James, and Major Murphy's name is Patrick.
The club. Had you seen it before?
No, sir.
I kind of love the intensity of the maid. She's like unfazed, no emotion, and I kind of like that.
Thank you, that is all.
The Colonel was lying down here, sir. The most frightening thing of all, sir, was his face. It was all contorted. Horrible look of fear, terror.
Yeah, his face was freaking crazy. It looked like he was smiling to me.
Thank you, Bates. That could have frightened the Colonel, sir.
This door was locked shut, sir. The key was missing. We searched high and low, and it wasn't in the Colonel's pocket, sir.
There's that framing again. The panning gives it a very cinematic finish, and I really like that.
If the key was not in the door,
Then there must have been a third person.
who either entered or left through those windows.
What if it was David? It could have been the person she referred to as David, or someone else, maybe?
Someone has recently crossed this lawn. Our intruder had an unusual companion. These paw marks are not those of a creature that we are familiar with.
Wait a second. What if it's the guy that she was kissing? Because I think the blonde one was Barclay, so she was kissing another soldier. So what if that's David? I don't know, but it's all pointing to that direction.
A creature with a long back and short legs. We also
Wiener
know
dog.
that it is carnivorous.
How can you tell that?
Definitely not a wiener dog. A wallaby. A jaguar? I mean, geez, who knows?
I cannot betray a friend.
When Mrs. Barclay left her house to come here, she was happy. Now the police suspect her of murder. You must tell me what happened last night.
What do you know, woman? And tell us or else. No, I'm just kidding. You gotta let it free, babe. I can see it's bothering you.
I saw the most extraordinary creature. Not only had he a crooked back, but he was lame. I pointed this person out to Nancy. She looked as though she had seen a ghost.
So she recognizes the man. So who is the man? Is the man David? Oh my goodness.
And they talked together for a few moments before I saw him storm out.
Who was that poor creature? Promise me, Anna, you won't say anything about this.
Of course I promise.
I'm gonna tell somebody because you are acting weird. So this is why she changed when she came back from charity work.
And the identity of this man.
He's an old soldier recently back from India.
And did you tell the police about him?
Of course not. I promise.
I'm telling you, it's the man that she was kissing. Her younger self was kissing. It's David. The man is a magician.
Our intruder's four-footed companion.
Oh.
It's a mongoose.
So it was a weasel that was the animal, or a mongoose that was what was the animal.
Mr. Henry Wood, I believe. May I have a word?
What about?
Colonel James Barclay's death.
She is innocent.
Then you are guilty.
I am not guilty.
Then who?
I feel like the way that woman described him, I feel like she was a little bit more intense than she needed to be in that description.
It was a just providence that killed him. If I had smashed his head in, he would have got only what he deserved.
He's had some things happen to him.
I'll tell you my story.
Also, the facial hair that I don't know if that's real or if that's a wig, but it looks real. That's amazing.
But he was Sergeant Jim Barclay then. We were in the same company. We were both in love. The same woman.
With the same woman.
Nancy.
Nancy. I told you! So what happened?
There were two men who loved her. Only one whom she loved. For my good looks. Nancy loved me.
The British, they can just act. It's like, I don't know what is in them, but when it is unlocked, it is like a force to be reckoned with, okay? I need some of that. Bring it across the pond.
I was the one she loved. But although I had her heart, her father didn't approve.
Oh, it's the freaking parents! It's always the freaking parents' approval.
Nancy's father wanted her to marry Barclay, but she remained true to me.
Why did Nancy Tavoy not marry the man she loved?
I bet he freaking betrayed him. I bet that's what happened. Oh, they loved each other. I knew it. Didn't I call it earlier? I told you. I can recognize a broken heart when I see one.
There were 10,000 rebels round us. We had to communicate with General Niels. Like a fool, I volunteered. 1,000 lives in peril. I was thinking of only one of them.
She's beautiful too, like the other actress. Casting on point in this episode, by the way.
Saying goodbye to her was the hardest thing. I little thought I was saying goodbye to her for 30 years. Jim Barclay volunteered to advise me on the best route.
I knew he freaking sabotaged his freaking mission. Come on.
Barclay had told me to follow a stream. I came to the gully and thought I was safe.
Oh.
But I was attacked. When I came to, I was trussed up like a chicken.
Oh, they have him hanging in such an awkward position for his body.
But I was sick at heart for having failed in my mission.
That's his memento!
The biggest blow came as I listened to rebels talk, but I had been betrayed.
You know how perspective changes things? I never trusted Barclay. I didn't like him.
They dragged me away with them. I was tortured. My captors fled north and used me as a sort of slave. They damn near broke every bone in my body.
That's so terrifying. And they I'm sure that all that torture probably contorted his body.
I dreamed of revenge on Barclay. Tribesmen murdered the rebels. I had my revenge on my torturers. And what of Nancy? I had no means of knowing whether she was alive or dead.
Who wins in this situation? Like, congratulations, you betrayed the man who she loved, but you received a loveless marriage. Kudos to you, sir.
What use was it for me? Make myself known to my comrades in the regiment. Even my revenge on Jim Barclay didn't make me go.
But you did return. Why?
Again, the lighting on his face is fantastic. Kudos to the freaking lighting, cinematography, art, production design. Kudos to all of them in this episode.
I just wanted to be where there were soldiers. And I no longer wanted to kill Barclay until I saw her. I recognized her at once.
Oh my God! Who is this man? He's acting his tail off. And the Oscar goes to, or the BAFTA. The BAFTA goes to.
Good evening. Have you been able to find anything that...
I remember you. Oh, I remember you.
I'm sorry, I thought
Nancy, it is me.
I would freak out. I have goosebumps. Oh my gosh.
I thought you had been dead.
I have been. I told her some of my story. I should have spared her that her husband was a traitor, but it all came pouring out of me.
Yes. And that's why she got into a fight with him that night. It all makes sense now.
I went outside. I saw her, and I followed her home. I saw her sitting in a chair. And then he came into the room.
And immediately his eyes drained of love and went straight into hatred. That subtlety in the eyes, that's something that I wish I could do.
David, you betrayed him.
You're mad.
There he is. Oh. Oh.
Dead before he fell.
So he died just due to sheer, like, fear. That's crazy. It's okay, relax. She just falls into his arms. Look how the romance is still there, like it never left. Oh my gosh. Who are these actors? They're so good.
I thought I'd better get away, for things might look black against me.
So the Colonel died before he struck his head on the fender.
Brought on by
Yeah.
shock.
Mrs. Barclay will be free.
Wow. What a fantastic episode. Yeah, that was amazing. Especially the acting.
Mr. Holmes, how is Nancy?
I understand in time she should make a complete recovery.
He never forgot about his Nancy. So in a way, he did get revenge without actually having to get his hands dirty. So it kind of worked? So he won in this situation? I guess so.
There's just one thing I don't understand. Who the deuce was David?
You see, David was evidently used as a term of reproach.
Reproach?
I love that Watson is smoking in this one too. They just look so cool.
Don't you remember how King David sent Uriah into the forefront of the battle so that he might steal his woman Bathsheba?
Yes, I do know that story.
Chapter 11, verses 14 to 17.
Oh, let's crack open that Bible, baby. Let's get some word in. It's biblical.
Appear to have looked it up yourself.
How did you know?
You used this bill for our meal at Waterloo as a bookmark.
Excellent, Watson.
Elementary, my dear Holmes.
Elementary! He said it! Oh, that was so rich. Thank you so much. That made my entire day. Alfred freaking Shaughnessy, sorry. That was such a great episode. Wow. What I liked the most about it was hands down the acting provided to us by this man who played the crooked man. I don't know his name, but God bless him. He is a phenomenal actor, very much getting the point across of his pain and his hardship over 30 years of, wanting revenge and then it kind of burning out and also being tortured by rebels. Like, he conveyed every single inch of his character's story to the audience. Like, amazing work. I am absolutely floored by the acting. Fantastic. And then the chemistry and the romance that he showed for Nancy was so palpable. I was like, who is this man? Has he received a BAFTA? And how can we get him one, right? Like, fantastic. Wow. Amazing performance. And then I must speak about the cinematography of this particular episode. How it did kind of have what is it? What did I say? A cinematic. That's the word I was looking for. A cinematic finish with, the use of the pans and kind of adding that intensity to certain scenes. I think that it really just made the episode that much more intriguing for the audience. I also really liked the fact that we were kind of thrown in, at least Sherlock and Watson were thrown into this, where they didn't really start in the parlor. They started, on the scene. So it kind of gave us a feeling like, oh, we're in it now. We're in the mystery and we get to kind of be there with them. Yeah, that was a very intriguing episode. I really, really enjoyed it. I think as of yet, this is probably my favorite episode. And then, of course, at the end when Watson says, "Elementary, my dear Holmes," like that was perfect. What a perfect way to end it. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. So thank you guys so much for watching it with me. All right, everyone, that does it for this video. As always, if you liked it as much as I did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to become an official Tiffany Club member, then I highly encourage you to hit that subscribe button and that bell notification to stay in the loop. If you would like to see this episode's full reaction, you will find it on my Patreon, as well as our FlickPick polls, which allow you to vote for future videos, and our MWM live watch parties, where we come together every other week at 6 p.m. AZ time, and we sit down and we watch one classic film live via Zoom. And I will tell you, usually we hold it every other Friday. However, we are going to shift over to Saturday nights, so it's going to be every other Saturday night at 6 p.m. Arizona time, and we sit down and we watch one classic movie live via Zoom. So if that sounds like something of interest to you, go ahead and check out that Patreon link, which is in the description box below. In our next video with Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes, we are going to be watching episode 6, titled The Speckled Band, which sounds quite interesting. I'm very excited to watch it. If you haven't seen or read The Speckled Band, I highly encourage you to do so before watching the reaction, and I have provided links down in the description of where I bought my copy of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. If you have any recommendations for any classic Hollywood films, go ahead and head over to my website, www.meandtiffany.com, scroll all the way down and you will find our recommendation form. I did not have a burning question today. However, if you have a burning question to ask me, let me know down in the comments. You can also DM me on Instagram and Twitter. My handle is @MammaMiaTiffany. I'm also available on email. My email is miawilliams642@gmail.com. Finally, as always, this is so much fun to watch these with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe and healthy out there, and I will see all of you in the next video. Bye, everyone. Okay, we're gonna do this. Oh, I'm excited to do this one. Okay. Today, we are off on another adventure with Dr. Watson and Mr. Holmes. As a child, he was raised by his father and his mother as a See, I already messed up. How do I do that? It's like freaking clockwork. Charles Doyle, it sounded weird, wow. Charles Doyle, Arthur's father, was an artist, why am I stuttering? What? I have to get at least one good one, okay? At least one good one. But one of the lighter times of Conan Doyle's experience at the... I love that one, it's so cute.